Hi, everybody who's watching, all like three of you. Um, this is Michelle Lee, and this is another episode of Musings of a Genre Slut. So I'm sitting here today, and I was putting together my little Christmas gifts for my little book club. We call it the Bujo and Boba Club, and sometimes it just goes to Bubba Club or Booba Club. But it's just a group of two of my kids and a friend of mine from work who, like, we all have a lot of the same kind of struggles when it comes to organizing and ADHD, autism spectrum, and we also have a lot of the same tastes in books. We've been reading a lot of romantasy and stuff lately, but, since everybody else is so much younger than me, I've really been trying to push some books that I really love on them that maybe they might miss out on. And they, of course, are demanding I read things like Haunting Adeline, which we'll get to that. But anyway, I'm putting together little gifts for them, and I figured since I'm giving them each a book, I would go ahead and make a video and share some of the books that I think are awesome for giving as gifts. Now, there's this concept that I saw on Facebook a way long time ago that says that instead of giving some big expensive gift, you give a book that means something to you, to somebody that you hope it will mean something to them too. So that's kind of what I'm aiming at. And I think that I might want to try to do this every year. Now, first, I have made them these little book sleeves. So, little zip up thing you can stick their book in. And I'm going to be stuffing them with all of their stuff. I have made a couple of different kinds and one that's a little adult, because that's fun. And I'm adding stickers. I got a bunch of little stickers. Book themed, of course, stickers for them. I also got them these fun bookmarks that I found. That's a lot of fun. And then I have pens, because I love pens. So I got a bunch of pens so that I can give them each a little pen. And now for the books that I'm giving them. The first book is Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. This is in the Discworld series. It's set in the Discworld series, but it's independent of any of the other series that are in the Discworld series. Terry Pratchett was an amazing author and an amazing person. His Discworld series, if you don't know, is a parallel fantasy series that makes a lot of social commentary on our world by putting some of the things we're facing science fiction-wise and fantasy-wise, some of our social concerns, into a fantasy setting. He is able to make it more ludicrous and make it more obvious. Small Gods is about religion. It follows a young man who is the last true believer in a god. And it follows how that affects him, how it affects the god, and what happens when people believe in the symbols of a religion more than they believe in the actual religion, and how religions morph over time to become truly toxic. This is also one of the books that I read. I'm a big fan of all kinds of storytelling, any kind of storytelling, comics, TV, movies, all of that. I read or I listen to YouTube stories and stuff like that too. But this is one of those cases where there are a couple of throwaway lines in this whole book that completely change the entire story. And I really love when an author can have you so engaged and then just with one line throw the entire thing. An example of this is the TV movie Merlin that came out many years ago. I really loved it. And my partner was a real big fan of King Arthur and Merlin and everything. And he watched it and he's like, this is not how it was. I'm like, just just enjoy it. Just enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy it for being another take. And near the end, two of the characters that were actually there, because Merlin is telling the story the whole time, but one of the other characters comes forward and says, "That's not quite how I remember it." And Merlin just says, "Let the people have their stories." And, just with one line, it completely changed how my partner had seen it. And I like seeing other people's adaptations of books, because it's like a new person envisioning. You get to see the story in a whole new way. I am not a book or movie purist. I am a story is a story purist. I don't know. Story is a story person. Enjoy it for what it is. But anyway, so Small Gods has pretty much embraces how I see religion entirety. I grew up in a very Christian household, have some like toxic internalized issues with a lot of religions, but also I have found some of the most wonderful communities you can find are religious people who are genuinely caring and genuinely trying to do better for the community. So this book embraces both of that. There is lots of parallels to Christianity, but it manages to stay, just outside of it. So I highly recommend it, and it is one of my go-to books that I recommend for if you ever want to know who I am. This is one of the books that can tell you a little part of me. The next book is for one of the girls likes urban fantasy, modern fantasy, but is less so into romantasy. So I got Discount Armageddon by Shauna McGuire. This is really offbeat, and McGuire's further books really do good as far as asexual and non-binary representation and everything. But this is unique. This is very modern urban fantasy, but it does not really, it's more cryptids. It doesn't so much go with the, vampire and werewolf triad, you have to choose or anything. I actually enjoy, so that there's two books with this main character who is in a specific family, and then there's two books with her younger brother. I actually like the younger brother books a little bit better, possibly because she is a dancer and also a stripper, but actually she's also a dancer. She just strips for money. Nothing wrong with that. But her dream is to make it as a dancer, make it as more of an artist. She is also a cryptid hunter. Her brother is a biologist, so I think, and he ends up going to study cryptids in Australia. So I think I just kind of connect with the biologist more than I do with the dancer, because I'm not a dancer. I am not coordinated, and I am not what anybody would call graceful. So I really enjoy it. It's got a lot of standards that you really like in urban fantasy. It's got a snarky, very confident main character. This one also, the whole series, it doesn't, like, there's been some criticism of urban fantasy that in order to make a woman strong, they make her more masculine, less feminine. So they make her the secret badass who, doesn't have female friends and doesn't get in for emotions or anything, which absolutely there are some series who definitely do that. And I think that it's also, sometimes we just kind of try to overemphasize in stories. As authors, we just try to overemphasize that this person, she's woman, but she can absolutely hold her own. But sometimes you just have to let it be. You just have to let people, doubt and wonder. This one does not try to do that. This one does not try to make her too much of a badass. It lets her be who she is. Very strong characters. I really enjoy the whole series. So I certainly hope that my kidlet will enjoy it too. Next one is one of my absolute favorites. Another one that you would, if you want to know who I am as a person, this book can tell you a lot. So this is The Silver Wolf by Alice Bourchard, who is actually Anne Rice's sister. Both of them have passed now, which is really sad. But I always regretted not seeing Anne Rice's, because I'm a big fan of Anne Rice, kind of. I have a love-hate relationship with her, as you know, if you've watched my Witching Hour review. But I like Alice's writing style a lot better. It's just as lovely, and it's a lot tighter. This one in particular I liked because it's set in Rome, around the time of in the Dark Ages. The main character is a woman who's a shapeshifter. She's a werewolf, but in more of a classic sense. Not like, she doesn't have like a wolf man, the Krynos third shape that's half man, half wolf. She pretty much can shapeshift into a wolf. She is pretty much held prison by her mother's family, who sell her off to the highest bidder, for marriage. They also shame her a lot about her ability to shapeshift and everything. So it starts out in a really dark place where Reagan is pretty much she's a captive. She's very Harry Potter. She's being kept, locked up. They fear her, but they also know that she has some value because she's a woman, and she does have some noble bloodline, like, in her past. She's never known that or anything, but this is her story of getting free of them, and really discovering her own power that has nothing to do with them. Of course, I empathize this because my upbringing made me feel very, very imprisoned. Even if I wasn't physically imprisoned, I felt very imprisoned by, the religious upbringing that I had. And I never felt like I quite fit in that. And so I empathized a whole lot with the main character of this story. Also, I took 6.5 years of Latin because I thought I was going to go pre-med, pre-vet actually. And I thought that would help, but instead it really pushed me into a love of language and storytelling, which, it's still a win in my book. So I highly recommend this. It's very lovely. It's part of a trilogy. This is the better part. There is a little bit of religious content because one of the characters is Pope, but it is really outside of that, and it's really nice how all the plot threads come together, and it's a very satisfying read. So I highly recommend it, and I really hope that its receiver enjoys it as much as I do. And then I have two more. I had two more. I thought I only had one more. So another one is my absolute favorite urban fantasy series, the Kate Daniels series from Alana Andrews. This is also there's vampires and shapeshifters and stuff like that, but this is post-apocalyptic urban fantasy. So pretty much there's this idea that the world is in balance between technology and magic, and one day, we with our technology right now drove the world so far into tech that magic slapped back, and now there's this flux of sometimes magic is up and magic works and spells will work, and then sometimes tech is up and then guns work and explosives work and stuff like that. Magic hates tall buildings, hates electronics, so will actively fizzle out and destroy it. So that has led to very much of a post-apocalypse world, but then also still sometimes magic works and sometimes tech works, so you still have people who are gunslingers. One of my favorite characters in the series is a gunslinger or gun specialist. It also has Kate is clearly has some sort of secret history, has some sort of magical badass powers that she's not letting really come out, or anything that she's hiding from. There's not necessarily creeping power like you might see in something like Anita Blake. She's had the power, she just doesn't know how to use it, and she definitely is trying to suppress it. And there's a lot of complex things engaged in that, like who her mom is, who her family, the rest of her family is, who her dad was, and stuff like that. But all of that is also so there's a lot of personal growth over the series. It feels very natural. but also there's this really interesting setting, and Alana Andrews is actually a husband and wife writing team, and they do a fantastic job of both kind of slow building the relationship, but also Kate. What I really, I've said before that I'm a big fan of found family, and Kate absolutely builds herself a family, and you love seeing it. And I do particularly well with stories where people are constantly seeing other people's humanness, people's they see people who are maybe in a crap situation. They're saving people, and they're treating people as kindly as they can. And I particularly enjoy characters that are like that. And Kate Daniels is absolutely nothing if not. She has a very strong sense of morals that she will stick to, even when it causes her personal, even when it's a threat to her. And I love seeing how that rallies other people to her, and how that affects other people who are also caught up in this post-apocalyptic fantasy magical world. So I really love the series. I love the fact that it's so expansive, that there are side characters that have their own books. Right now there is Andrea, who is Kate's best friend, had her own book with her own love interest and everything. And then Kate's adopted daughter is ending up with a book series. I've read the first book of that, and that is fantastic. And I was Kate's rival, Hugh, who is a very much a bad guy and antagonist in the series at first. He also has started to get his own trilogy with his redemption arc, and I didn't want him to get a redemption arc. I really didn't. I just want to let some people be bad. But I also really like how she's written it, and I have kind of started to change my mind on whether or not he should get a redemption arc, just kind of based on how it is being executed. So I've actually really been enjoying that too. Plus, that one is set in Kentucky, and so it's funny because it's set in a castle in Kentucky, and I used to pass that castle when I was driving to get my daughter where she went to school in Lexington. So I would pass it like every weekend, and I would think about the Kate Daniels book every time. So it's really kind of more interesting to see some place that you actually know and you've actually been. Um, and maybe also I kind of want to be a Kate, building my own pack, my own family. That's a big thing to me. So that is the fourth book I'm giving out. And then the last one is also one of my favorites. I first read this in high school. It is Beauty by Robin McKinley. Now, Robin McKinley did two Sleeping Beauty books, and man, you want to talk about gorgeous writing. She is like among the top. Like her, Robin McKinley, Francesca Leah Block, and like Poppy Z. Bright are like the most beautiful prose. Tanith Lee is another really big one. I just adore their prose. So this is an absolute gorgeous retelling of Beauty and the Beast. It is not the family. They're like, there's no wicked stepsisters or anything like that. There's no her father was not. He was not cruel to her or anything. He didn't trade her. It was a situation they were forced in. And the Beast also does not force her to. It's all about honor, not about force. There's not really Stockholm syndrome or anything like that. And just like with the Unsilly King and I, which was also definitely very much a Beauty and the Beast type thing with his magic powers and everything, which I reviewed in the last one. There's some interesting aspects to the inanimate objects around. This one is more of a spiritual unseen servant kind of thing, but I also like this take, and it's very lovely, and sometimes you just want to read a happy story, or a story that ends happily. It also is, I mean, this is more like who I first read it in high school, near the beginning of high school. And I was surprised because at that point I was getting more into gothic horror, dark stuff. And I didn't really want to do fantasy so much anymore unless there was some dark aspect to it. But I picked it up and I started reading, and I just really, it reminded me that I still really liked the more beautiful, sweeter things. I read it when I was in a pretty deep depression, and it became a lifeline. And like a lot of books can and do, it was just so beautiful, and it was just so well tempered and even paced and everything, that it really reminded me that I didn't have to be this like this depressed, awful, I hate myself, I hate my life person. Um, I could I could still enjoy the pretty things in life too. And every so often reread it, and I remind myself that I can still um, really appreciate a classic story, even with a new twist. It doesn't make me less of a person to still like Disney movies and stuff like that, because Lords know there is a lot of things out there that say that adults shouldn't enjoy frivolous things. So this is has become a reminder to myself that you should take time to smell the roses. You should take time to enjoy the stories that call to you. And hopefully I will be able to pass that on to my kids and my family, my found family. What are you giving this year? What books are you giving? What books do you want to get? I plan to be back in January, going back to, I think I am going to do my Lust series. I have already ordered my books. I just need to read through them and start marking up the books so that I can show you my favorite passages and everything. So happy holidays. I hope you find something wonderful to read this season.